What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys the best possible settings you could be using in OBS for live streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, or wherever you're at. But before we jump in, let's give a shout out and thank you to our sponsor for today's video, Own.tv. Own.tv is the place to go, guys, if you're looking for some fresh new graphics for your stream. Whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook gaming, you'll find something that's a perfect fit for your channel. They offer full themed overlay packages, which are great if you're trying to give your stream a complete makeover, but let's say you're just looking to pick up some new alert graphics. Don't worry, because they've got you covered there too. You could find single graphics such as alerts, banners, panels, and logos as well. And one of the best parts about most of these overlays is that they are completely modular. So if you and your friends all pick up the same overlay, such as this Rodan one right here, you can change the colors and tweak it to match your brand, and none of you will have the exact same overlay. If you guys are looking to take your stream to the next level, be sure to check out Own.tv using my link below to support the channel. All right, guys, so I'm going to switch over to my desktop view and let's get started. Okay, so I'm recording with OBS right now. So the first thing we're going to do when we want to edit our settings is we're going to head down to the bottom right here and we're going to click on Settings. This is going to bring up all of our settings within OBS. So it starts us off in the General tab. I'm going to go down each item in every tab on the left here and just make sure that you guys can see my settings. So if worst comes to worst and you have no idea what you're doing, you can at least mimic my settings and then tweak them later. So in the General tab, really the only important things here that we're going to take a look at is the theme. Make sure you're using Yami. It looks great and I highly suggest it. Anyways, really, you can use any theme you want, but let's scroll down a little bit here. One thing that I think you guys should enable here is source alignment snapping. Now, what source alignment snapping is it allows you to basically kind of fine-tune the sensitivity of when you're lining up source elements on your stream. So basically, if you're trying to put your camera and then some graphics around the screen somewhere, maybe your alerts and things like that, it'll help you snap them to specific locations instead of it being completely free moved, so that you can kind of line things up to be almost perfect. So my settings for that are 10.0 for the snap sensitivity. I have snap sources to edge of screen enabled and snap sources to other sources enabled as well. And as for the rest of the settings in the General tab, none of this will affect your stream quality by any means at all. So we're going to head over to the Streaming tab here. This is where you're going to set up where you're streaming to. If you're streaming to Twitch, you're going to obviously want to select Twitch here. Leave the server set to auto. It'll auto select the best server for you to stream to. And then right here, if you're not connected, if you're setting this up for the first time, you're going to be able to click a button that says connect account. You'll log into your Twitch account or your YouTube account, wherever you're streaming to, and then it will tailor your entire OBS to that. You no longer need to copy and paste your stream key and all that stuff. And then there's one more important thing in this tab. Come down to this little box right here that says ignore streaming service setting recommendations. You're going to want to enable this. Check this box, because when you're streaming to Twitch, they cap your limit at 6K bitrate. Now, if you're playing fast moving games, FPSs and things like that, 6K bitrate is not really enough to keep it super crisp and clear when you're streaming in 1080 at 60 FPS. So you want to enable this, and I'm going to show you why later on. Keep watching. Next, we're going to head over to the Output tab. First thing you're going to do in this tab, change the output mode from simple to advanced. This will enable us to tweak a few more settings. So make sure you're selected the Streaming tab right here at the top, and then going down right here, we have streaming settings. Your audio track, you're going to have it set to 1 most likely. If you have more than that selected, then you probably aren't watching this video anyway, and you're probably doing something a little bit more complex. Twitch VOD track, have this set to 2. I don't have it enabled, so it doesn't really mean anything to me. I would pretty much ignore this setting. And like I said, again, if you're using these settings, you probably don't need to watch a video on how to set up OBS. You're a little bit more advanced, so I'm not even going to get into detail when it comes to that. Your audio encoder, your video encoder, all of these things are a little bit more important. So your audio encoder, mine is FF-MPEG AAC. Yours most likely is going to be the exact same thing. But the video encoder is where you're going to have some different options, right? If you're using an AMD GPU, you might have an AMD option here. I suggest using that. It'll be like AMD H.264, select that. If you're using an NVIDIA GPU, you're going to want to use NVIDIA NVENC H.264. Don't use X264 encoding. And the difference here is massive and can make a a huge difference when gaming and streaming at the same time. So if you use X264, it's going to actually use your processor, your CPU, for the encoding. It's a software encoding, which is a lot harder on your machine. This used to be the way to do it when people did dual PC streaming and things like that. Some people still dual PC stream. I do from time to time, but it's really not necessary with the hardware that's on the market today. So I suggest using whatever encoder you have for your GPU. If you're using an AMD GPU, use the AMD encoder. If you're using an NVIDIA GPU, use this encoder right here. Uncheck rescale output here. Even if you are downscaling to 720p, we're gonna do that later on, so make sure this is unchecked. As for your encoder settings, you wanna set this rate control to CBR, and you wanna set your bit rate to 8,000. Now remember earlier when I told you to check that box that said ignore streaming service encoder settings? Well, there's a trick. If you check that box and you set your bit rate to 8K, no higher, you will get an 8K bitrate on Twitch. You can go check this out for yourself if you don't believe me, and you don't need to be a Twitch partner for this to work. So set your bitrate to 8K. Make sure you checked that box earlier. Don't go any higher than 8K. If you go higher than 8K, let's say you go to 8,500, what'll happen is you will no longer have 1080p streaming on your stream until you close OBS down and reset your settings. 8K is the sweet spot. You'll get 1080p, 60 FPS, 8K bitrate, and it looks fantastic. And if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. You don't need to be a Twitch partner for this to work. I know in my last video, a lot of people were like, oh, you need to be a Twitch partner. You absolutely do not. Trust me on this. Try it for yourself, and then comment down below that it worked so other people believe that I'm telling the truth here. Your keyframe interval, set this to 2 seconds. Your preset. So this is going to vary based on your machine. My machine, I'm running an AMD 7800 X3D processor. Yes, I just switched over to AMD for my CPU. And I'm running a 3080 Ti. So for me, I'm able to get away with using slowest. If you have similar specs, I suggest using slowest as well. If you have a little bit less specs, go down the list, try slower, try slow. You know, one of these 3 options here should be good for you. It depends really on your specs, so try them all out. Try starting with slowest, start streaming, see if you're getting some choppiness or losing frames in game, or your stream is, your encoder's being overloaded. If it is, shut your stream down, try slower, and go down the list until you find that sweet spot where it's working for you. For tuning, you wanna have this set to high quality at all times. Multi-pass mode, here's another one where you can kind of mess with it. I have mine set to 2 passes full resolution. You can tweak this depending on your machine as well. You can go down to 2 passes quarter resolution. The difference between these 2 options is negligible. You really can't see it. Obviously, if you can afford it, your PC's resources are fine, use full resolution, but quarter resolution, it doesn't mean your stream is gonna be, you know, 1/4 the quality of before. It's really, really hard to tell the difference between these 2. So I suggest if you don't have a super high-end machine, use quarter resolution. Your profile, you want to set this to high. Look ahead, uncheck this. Cycle visual tuning, you want to check this. GPU, set this to 0. Max B frames, set this to 2. Heading on over to the audio tab, right here is where yours might look a little bit different than mine. I'm going to explain to you why my settings look like this. So for me, I have everything disabled here, except for one mic auxiliary audio device, which is broadcast stream mix, because I'm using a Go XLR Mini to handle all of my audio. If you do not have a Go XLR, you're going to select default or your headphones or whatever it is here for your desktop audio, whatever you're hearing things out of. And for your microphone, you're going to want to select your headset microphone or your USB microphone, whatever you're using. The reason, like I said, that mine is only showing one is because my Go XLR is a piece of hardware that basically takes all of my audio devices, mixes it down into what's called this broadcast stream mix, and that's the only sound going out to my stream because I do all the mixing on the hardware itself. Heading on down here, you can set up an advanced monitoring device if you want to hear your stream back. I don't suggest doing that right off the bat, but anything else down here is really not necessary when it comes to the quality of your stream. I could just say at the top, your sample rate, you do want to have this set to 48 kilohertz and your channel set to stereo. Make sure this is not set to mono. If it's set to mono, people will be hearing sound out of like one earphone. It's just an overall bad experience. Coming down to the video tab on the left-hand side here. So your base canvas resolution, this is going to be what you're seeing, what you're gaming at, what your main monitor is. I game on a 1080p 240 hertz display. So for me, I have mine set to 1920 by 1080. And then your output scaled resolution is what's going to be output to your stream. So if you want to downscale, if you don't have that high end of a PC, you want to stream in 720p at 60 FPS, this is where you would select that right here. Output scale resolution, you'd set it to 1280 by 720. I stream in 1080p, so I don't have anything being scaled whatsoever. Your downscale filter, if they match, if your resolutions here match, you won't be able to select the downscale filter here because you're not downscaling. If you are downscaling to 720, I suggest using the Lanxos filter in the downscale filter list. I can't click it right now because I'm recording, so it's grayed out. And then your FPS value, you'd select common FPS values and you'd put in your FPS here if whether you want to do 30 or 60. If you're gaming, I suggest 60 FPS. If you're doing more of a talk show where it's just your camera, you can get away with using 30 FPS and no one would really notice. Next tab over here on the left side is hotkeys. This is where you can bind pretty much any function within OBS to a hotkey on your keyboard. You can have your stream starting key, your stop streaming, your start recording, anything like that, change your scenes. If you have extra keys on your keyboard that you're not using in your game and you want to bind them to functions in OBS, this is where you would do that. And under advanced here, we have a couple of different things that some people may use, some people won't. I'll give a really brief overview of this. So process priority, you want to make sure this is set to normal. If you bump this any higher, what's going to happen is your PC is going to start allocating resources more to OBS than to the game you're playing, and you're going to start dropping frames, and it's going to get a little messy, so never change this from normal. Under the video section here, the only things that I could say that would make a difference with the quality of your stream is your color space, your color format, and your color range. Now, most people say that setting your color range to full is better. I have tested both, and I like the way my stream looks better when I have it set to limited. It's a little deeper of a color. When you set it to full, you're going to get a little brighter of an image overall. It almost looks a tiny bit overexposed. So I have found that setting color range to limited is the way to go here. And then obviously scrolling down here, these are some recording settings. You can add an additional delay to your stream if you want right here. And you can enable automatically reconnect. So let's say you drop internet for, a minute or two. Your stream will not go down. It'll automatically try and reconnect, and everyone on Twitch will see, a picture of like an Ethernet cord being unplugged or something, meaning, hey, this streamer is trying to reconnect. They dropped internet for a second. It won't shut your stream completely down. So I do suggest enabling this setting right here. It will definitely help keep your stream involved. And just in case you do disconnect, they know what happened. And then when your internet comes back, it'll automatically start working again. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the settings you guys are going to need to start streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, wherever it is that you're streaming. You can basically copy my settings and then tweak them, like I said, to your machine. It depends on the specs of your machine. So these videos are a little bit tougher to make because I can't really tailor the video to every single person's PC. So all I can do is explain these settings to you the best that I can and say, listen, if your machine's a little bit less than this, try this setting. And I hope that this really does help you guys. You guys have been asking me to make an updated settings video for quite a while now. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next time I post a video. And if you want to hang out with me live, I do stream on Twitch Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time at twitch.tv/hammerdance. I'll drop a link to that in the description below this video. But thank you guys all so much for watching. I want you to keep those hammers up, and I'll see you next time.